Hello, welcome back to Evolve with E. I'm your host, E. Today we are again continuing with the Life Lessons from Climbing a Mountain mini-series. And you can hear that. Okay, I apologize sincerely. Last week, my neighbors were doing construction. They are still doing construction. They have now moved to right in front of my front door. Right? I call them my neighbors. They're like my landlords. I live in an ADU on the side of their house. And they're redoing their front yard right now. So, it's Sunday night. We're still getting the podcast out Monday morning, so bear with me. I am sorry. Like I said, we'll try to make sure you can't hear it as super loud as it is in real life right now, but bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about the company that you're with and how the environment that you're in either supports you in what you're trying to accomplish, or it can really distract and drain you in the process of getting to where you're trying to go. So, I think we all know what this alludes to when we're hiking. Let's just dive into having a negative hiking partner. Story time. I started hiking probably 6 years ago. Like for real, maybe 5 years ago now. I've been hiking with the same friend. She's the one who really got me into it, was the one who took me up my first mountain, and I love hiking with her. One of these hiking trips, it was me, her, and one of her hometown friends. I won't share any names. I had never met this person before, and it had been a long time since the two of them had interacted much, and that, I think, is all that I'll say about that. We show up at this camp, we're gonna hike together, and vibes are okay. We all have, gym girl shit in common, everybody's trying to just talk about protein and lifting, and we're off to a good start. And one of the main hikes that we had wanted to do, we were super excited about doing, is hiking up to a fire tower. And I will talk about that in a completely other episode because oh my god, the second half of that hike changed my life. Actually, getting there was a bit of a struggle. It was honestly one of the first hikes that we were doing together, the three of us. We had talked a bit just in our chats about being gym goers. We had had plenty of time to talk about our physical activity levels, our physical fitness levels, and we had seemed to be in agreement that we were all kind of on the same page. We're yeah, we're active, we're not incredibly physically fit by any means, so we're not going to be sprinting up this mountain, but we've hiked before, we've done this before, we're familiar with what needs to go into this to accomplish this hike, basically. The way that we were going about this is we needed to be there at the fire tower by a certain point in time. That certain point in time was the sun setting. So it wasn't really anything that we could argue with. It was we need to be there by the time the sun goes down because we're spending the night up there. We had the conversation before we really started about we need to make not good time, but we need to be on pace to get there before the sun goes down. It's going to get cold, it's going to get dark, and it is just going to be best for everybody that we get there on time. I thought we were all on the same page. My friend thought we were all on the same page. And we started off on our hike. Everybody has their overnight gear, everybody has their snacks and what have you for spending the night on top of a mountain. We get about 5 minutes in, and we have to stop for the first time. We go another 5 minutes, we have to stop again. We go another 5 minutes, we have to stop again. You could just see my friend start to kind of panic. Just on her face, okay, what are we doing here? Okay, after the first stop, it's I get it. You're getting used to hiking. You're getting into the rhythm of things. Me and my friend are just kind of looking at each other. We're okay, we may have had a miscommunication. I don't want to belabor the point. At the end of the day, what it came down to was there was a fundamental miscommunication amongst the three of us where I'm not trying to be a bitch about it. I understand everybody's different. Some people think they can do more than they can, or how the fuck do I want to say this because I don't want to be a bitch about it. It boiled down to a lack of self-awareness and delayed communication. After we had stopped maybe 4 or 5 times in the first half an hour, my friend goes, "Hey, I don't mean to be a bitch. I don't mean for this to come out harsh. We have to make time. I am not getting us caught halfway up the side of this mountain when the sun goes down. If we are unable to keep this pace to get to where we need to go at the time we need to be there, it's going to be better that we turn around now. as opposed to getting halfway up the mountain and then getting caught in the dark, in the cold, outside, unprepared for that type of weather or that type of situation. And that did not land well. Immediately on the defense, the other person just starts excuse after excuse after excuse, landing on, I have a salt deficiency condition where if I sweat too much, I could pass out and start having seizures. Do you want that to happen? It's a rough situation. The vibes are kind of wonky. This is the first that me and my friend are hearing of this condition. And we're both a little taken aback. We are like, we have agreed to go on a hiking trip together, and you didn't think to tell us that this was something that we were gonna have to plan around? Like, girl, queen, we probably should have been aware of this going into the situation just so that we all could have planned and prepared for moving at a pace that may be variable depending on how you're feeling. You know what I mean? So that's where my friend I can see her face change the moment that this person said this. And I step in and I'm out loud saying what both of us are thinking. You know what? I think what we're trying to say here is that it would have been really good for us to know this ahead of time. That way we could have planned and prepared for the pace at which we're moving to be variable depending on how you're feeling. Like, hey, you probably should have given us a heads up that this is something that you have going on when you commit to going on a hiking trip with people. So, big miscommunication there. But at that point, we're like, all right, let's do our best to make this happen. This is a hike that my friend and I have been talking about doing for a while. It's a hike my friend has been wanting to do literally for her entire childhood, that she's been knowing about this hike. And she finally has a group of girls who's willing to do it with her. So here we are, trying to figure out a game plan for moving forward. And we're like, okay, the backpack you have is super heavy. My friend literally takes half the shit out of this other person's backpack and puts it in her own pack. Lightens that girl's load by half of what it is. And we start again. That helped. That helped a lot. Between that and the conversation, I think some adrenaline got moving, and that and the lightened backpack were enough that we were able to make ground. But vibes were hella fucking weird at that point, because now there's a little bit of tension and things got a little uncomfy, and we're just kind of carrying that energy throughout the rest of the hike. We're it's a little bit awkward silence. Nobody really wants to take a break now because we're all about everything. We ended up making it to the top just as the sun was setting. Everything ended up being okay, but vibes were still just a little bit off, and it took probably a couple hours for things to just settle back down and for us to all brush it off and let it go and then move forward from that point and just let it go and start fresh. And I think about that sometimes in relation to the company that you keep and the company that you're around, and how important it is to have open and honest and clear communication with the people that you're around. And not only that, but to feel safe in order to communicate and share things about yourself with the people that are around you. And knowing that when you share these things about yourself, the people around you aren't going to think of you as any less for it. And especially I understand how sometimes with physical activity, I know for me, how my ego gets involved. It can be really tricky to advocate for yourself when you feel like the slowest one of the group, or when you feel like you're the one who's always speaking up to say, can we slow down, or can we do something a little bit different because my body is moving at a different pace than you. And I understand that that's hard. And I also understand from that situation how important it is of a role for me to play going forward into different situations where I'm actively creating that safe space for somebody to share what they might not feel like they're able to share, and to ask the questions up front. How are we feeling about this hike? Does everybody feel ready? Is there anything that we should know about going into this hike? Is everybody healthy? Does anybody have any previously existing medical conditions that we should be aware of going into this hike? That way we can plan for moving at a pace that is comfortable. And that is a big convoluted way of me saying being in an environment like that isn't inherently a bad thing. It just puts you in a position where you have to be aware of and asking other people if they're okay. No, that's not what I want to say. What do I want to say about that? I don't know, babe. To me, it's honestly just like a reflection of the importance of self-awareness. And even if you're gonna let your ego get involved, know your body's limits. It's up to you to communicate what your limits are. And it's up to you to know what your limits are. And if you don't know what your limits are, at least communicate that you don't know what your limits are. And that communication amongst company is very, very important. And that the company that you keep on hikes like this set the vibe, for sure. Wonky vibes, miscommunication. Yeah. Now I want to talk about hiking with just my friend. Like her and I, we've done hikes together. I would call hikes with her like neutral. Ooh, no, how do I want to put it? She's relying on you to advocate for yourself. Point blank, simple. She trusts that the foundation is laid, that communication can happen, that you will advocate for yourself, and she will do the same for herself. It is a baseline of trust in her ability to communicate, knowing that communication is both listening and speaking. So being able to advocate for herself, but also understanding the other person is going to advocate for themselves. And it's just a matter of honoring and respecting both of that, but being on the same page and knowing that there's going to be nothing that's aired halfway up a mountain. We just trust that we'll say what needs to be said and we'll find a solution. Period. Point blank. Very simple. Very, very simple. And then my newest hiking partner has been eye-opening game changer for me. It's a very positive environment. It's a very uplifting environment. It's a very supportive environment. And I know it's a little bit different because it's my boyfriend, and so there's another layer to having him as a hiking partner. But with that, there's also the foundation of trust, of self-advocacy, of he will speak up for himself when he needs it. I will speak up for myself when I need it. He will take breaks and drink water and eat snacks and do whatever it is that he needs to do, and I will do the same. And something that's new for me is that he's also paying attention to me. And I'm not saying that my friend didn't pay attention to me or that other people that I've hiked with haven't paid attention to me, but they haven't done it in the way that like a boyfriend will, obviously. Like it's just a little bit different, but it's allowed me to just see these three different perspectives of company that you can keep while you're hiking with somebody. And so hiking with him, not only, like I said, does he advocate for himself, but he'll check in with me. And for me, like I've shared a couple episodes ago, having an ego and having just like this whole energy of I don't need to stop, I don't need to take breaks, and learning to actually check in with my body and not just live in my little mind dissociation whenever I'm doing physical activity, but being directly asked the question. Because I don't like to lie. That's something about me. I really don't lie. I don't like it. I think it's stupid and silly. Like, why would I lie when I could just tell you the truth? You know, like what are you gonna do? I make mistakes, I fuck up, sure, I'll own it. I'll learn from it too. But we will not go into that right now, maybe later. Being given the opportunity to look at how I'm actually feeling, I won't lie to myself. If I'm directly asked the question, I will sit with it. And when I'm actually sitting with the question, that pulls me back from my mind dissociation. That pulls me back into my body where I'm given the opportunity, because I don't always ask myself those questions. So it's not that I won't advocate for myself, it's that sometimes I'm not aware that I need it until somebody asks me it. And that's something I'm actively working on, especially with taking myself on more solo hikes. I'm practicing every so often to do something like that, every so many miles or every so many minutes, just like asking myself, but being honest about the answer. And as I'm learning that, it helps to have somebody practice it with me. So to have him ask me these questions, these check-ins as we're going up, it reframes from just having a neutral hiking partner who's taking care of herself and trusting that I'm taking care of myself to have what it feels like somebody who's also taking care of me. And then I get to throw that back at him. And I get to feel like I'm kind of taking care of him too. It just shows to me the different dynamics that you have with different people in your life. And how in different environments and in different conditions, these different people make a world of difference. So looking at these three different stories, these three different hiking partners, these three different people, three different personalities, three different relationships as a whole, translating all those differences and looking at that as how different people are beneficial in different environments and different situations in your life. Let's just for a second suppose that every single person in my life was like that first story, where when confronted are defensive, combative, are immediately looking for an excuse instead of just owning it. For me, it's one thing to be like, you know what? I didn't want to share this. I'm embarrassed about this. I'm embarrassed that I can't keep up. I didn't want to share this. And now I'm not feeling good. And that's why I keep taking breaks. And I'm sorry. That's one way to handle it. It's also another to go, well, I have this condition. Do you want me to pass out and have a seizure? No. No one ever said that. No one ever said that. No one knew. And it's another altogether to just like come out fighting, you know? And so there's obviously different levels to it, but the combativeness and the defensiveness and the lack of self-awareness, imagine every single person in your life was like that. You would probably feel really unsupported. You would feel unable to talk to the people around you because you knew that having even just a simple conversation about why something isn't going according to plan or why things are playing out differently than we had communicated about, you wouldn't feel safe to communicate. You wouldn't feel safe to voice your opinion or to question things because you knew that it wouldn't be met with an open, honest, and calm conversation. Let's for a second suppose that everybody in your life around you was like my friend, the neutral hiking partner. They're taking care of themselves, they're advocating for themselves, and they're expecting that you do the same. This, to me, relies on both people being self-aware, being comfortable having open conversations. And I can see how playing out in the story of the first person, how maybe that person didn't feel safe. And when you have somebody who doesn't feel safe met with that direct style of communication, sometimes it does trigger like that aggression and that combativeness. And I know for myself, it took me a while to be comfortable with like that direct communication and that direct advocacy for myself, because it almost felt like it played against this relationship that I had with myself, where I had felt really disconnected from my needs for a very long time in my life. And it was being surrounded by people and seeing them so freely advocate for themselves and their needs that I was able to see it in action play out, where it's okay to advocate for yourself. It's okay to have needs. It is okay to have different needs than you did in the past. It's okay to have different needs than other people. And it's up to you to learn what those needs are and then to advocate for them and to teach yourself that at a later point in life can be tricky. But it also is good to see it play out and to have that trust in other people that as I'm figuring this out, you are not going to waver. You are going to continue to advocate and show up for yourself. And I just have to worry about me. To me, it's something that provides a mirror back. It shows you how comfortable you are in those different situations. Whether you feel comfortable advocating for yourself or not. Whether you feel comfortable in yourself. Whether you have that level of self-awareness to see yourself and speak up for yourself and know yourself in all those different capacities. If you were surrounded by people like that neutrality right there, you would eventually learn to advocate and speak up for yourself. Because it's being demonstrated around you, your environment is showing you what it looks like when people do this thing. With that, I do think it would take time. Because you're learning through observation, not necessarily action. Until you start taking that action and you start using that learned example from I saw this person do this and this was the outcome, nobody got mad. They just advocated for themselves and everybody was like, oh my God, okay, duh, that's how you feel. That's fine. That happens. Like what? But you would see it and then you would start to recognize that it's okay. And so for the last example, let's call it having an attentive hiking partner. Let's say everybody in your life was like that. Everybody in your life advocated for themselves, had that self-awareness, was unafraid to speak up for and advocate for their own needs, and they checked in on yours. That type of support, that type of care. To me, these almost show up in different levels of like how much you pour into yourself. The whole cup analogy of like pour into yourself until you overflow into others. That's what it's giving, honestly. Like the empty cup just lashes out when it's asked to pour or when it's just looked at. The second one, the cup is full. Her cup is full. She's good. She's got it. She's on it. But then the boyfriend, my boyfriend, his cup is overflowing. And he's using that to pour into me too. To like, I'm good. I'm taken care of. I'm taking care of myself. Are you okay? Are you set up for success here? When you have people like that in your life and in your corner in general, oh my God, not only does it fill you up, but it has you overflowing, where then you are able to use some of that love and energy that's like being poured back out to you to feel your own cup start to overflow, and then you start giving back to them, where it's like when you become aware and when you have this like giving relationship with somebody else, oh, maybe that's what it is, and maybe that's just what it is. It's like giving to a giver, and then just both of you are just giving, and then everybody's just giving, and at the same time you're receiving because they're giving, but then you're giving so you feel fulfilled, and then it's just a lovely back and forth, and everybody's overflowing, and everybody's happy, and everybody's just okay, and communicating, because everybody's taking care of themselves, and because they're taking care of themselves, they're able to take care of other people, and then because they're also able to take care of other people, the other people are able to take care of themselves, but then also take care of the other people, and then everybody's just happy, and that's community, and I love it. And I think that to me has been something that I've been missing a lot of in life, is community, and that sense of everybody's giving and that everybody's receiving because everybody is giving, and we're all giving to each other without restraint, without fear of running dry or running out, because we know we're taken care of. We know we're taking care of ourselves, and we know that the people around us are taking care of us, and all of our cups are full, and we're all happy in our community. And it's just that like unconditional love and giving, where when you learn that and you're able to see that play out, you start to understand that when I do pour into myself, I can then give more to others. And this is a little bit of a digression from the original way that I was going to take this, because the original way I was going to take this was about the different company you keep is good for different outcomes, and that supportive environments change everything for the better. But I think that in that sense, your environment is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. And looking back at these different points of time in my life, I can see how I resonated with each of these different points and these different hiking partners because of where I was at within my journey with self-love. Shit, hold on. This is hitting live. What? Each of these experiences was a mirror for me at the time that it was happening. They happened in this order. First, it was this hiking group, the three of us. I could really empathize and put myself in her perspective, where I was like, I understand. I do this in other areas of my life. Maybe not hiking, because I don't have anything that physically limits me from hiking. Thank God. Like, I'm really blessed in that. Hold on. I'm like processing this shit. Holy fuck. At that point in time in my life, I really struggled with advocating for myself. And I think I even kind of alluded to that when I was saying that for the rest of that hike, nobody wanted to stop and take breaks. Maybe it was just me and her. Maybe it was just me. Maybe that's how I perceived the rest of that story, because I saw the way that my friend reacted. I saw the way that it changed the dynamic of the group. And then I didn't want to advocate for my needs for the rest of the time, because I didn't want to elicit like a response from a situation that was already stressed. Like, I was like, I'll just push my needs down and deal with whatever consequence, because it won't be that bad, because I don't have anything like that could hurt me that bad. Like, I'll just be tired or dehydrated or like something like that, you know? What the fuck? But that's kind of crazy. But at that point in time, she absolutely held that mirror up for me, and I could see how I was doing that in other areas of my life. And I walked away from that, being able to have that like third person perspective of what it looks like and how I got to see in that moment what the other person would be like when I don't advocate for myself and my needs, when I don't communicate what I know I need. And I got to see how shitty it felt from the other person's side, where it's like, bitch, I would have been accommodating. I absolutely would have planned this in accordance with what you need had I only known. And I really, really wish that you would have felt safe and able to share this with us before it came down to the point where it was thrown out as like a, how dare you push me or question me because this is what I'm going through. People want to be there for you. People want to make this as fun as possible for everybody involved. And if you deny them the knowledge of how to do that and how to show up for you, that is you blocking the love from other people. And I won't go into why some different people think that, because I think that that can be a whole episode in and of itself, but shit. So it was the next year that my friend and I were hiking, just the two of us. And I had spent all that year learning self-advocacy, learning to stand up for my own needs, learning to stand up for myself, advocating for myself, and taking steps in life that I knew I needed to take in order to like create the life I knew I wanted and deserved. And so my whole relationship with myself had changed in between the year of that hike and then the year of the hikes that I'm thinking of that were just the two of us. And at that point in time, it held up a huge mirror to me of she's able to advocate for herself and speak up for what she needs. And I'm able to see her do that. And I'm able to then practice it too. And to see that I made that jump in that time where I didn't feel any type of guilt. I didn't feel any type of way about doing that. It was still a learning process for me. It wasn't something that necessarily came naturally, I would say. But I didn't feel bad about speaking up for myself anymore. And I didn't let it get to the point where it boiled over or bubbled up. But I just advocated when I needed to. And I wouldn't always be aware of when I needed to. And that's where this most recent experience, hiking with my boyfriend, he shows me a massive mirror of where I still need to improve in my checking in with myself. Where I don't feel bad about advocating for myself. I don't feel anything besides a desire to prove to myself that I'm capable of something more. Like, it's not external anymore. It's not that I don't speak up because I feel bad. It's not that I don't speak up because I want to look or be perceived a certain way. It's me versus me in that sense. And I need to understand that it's not me versus me. It's me carrying me. But him providing that mirror back to let me check in with myself about when I'm actually listening to myself and when I'm just ignoring myself or powering through. Like I said, another mirror to show me where I still can grow, where I still get to grow. My relationship with myself is far from perfect. It is so much better than it used to be. And I really enjoy taking the opportunity to sit and reflect on where I've gotten better. And I am excited to look to the future and see the areas where I know I'll be better next year. The next hike I go on. Here's where I can show up better for myself. Also knowing that because of the different ways that I now love and advocate for myself, there's certain company that I don't tolerate anymore. There's certain behaviors that I don't tolerate anymore. Because I see them being self-limiting, and I understand a certain degree of where one's relationship with oneself must be at in order to communicate at that level. And no shame, no hate. Everybody's at a different point in their journey. And I also understand the impact that having different company around you has on you and your ability to accomplish what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I understand that I also play a role in influencing that company. And so if I'm in a situation where it's best if I just make the best of it with the situation at hand, like if it's a work thing or if it's something where I care about somebody else in the situation and I don't want to just blow it off or like, you know what I mean? Do something silly like that. I understand the role that I play and the way that I show up can have a huge impact on that company, but also knowing that it is within my scope of control who I keep in my immediate reality, and knowing that it's okay to be choosy. It's okay to be picky about who's in your inner circle, because it does have a huge impact on not only the journey itself, but your perspective about the journey. I don't know if I really mentioned it, but along with us needing to take so many breaks along the start of that journey, there was a lot of complaining. I understand sometimes it's really good to bitch and get emotions out. I don't know if I mean that. Hold on. Let's sit with it. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to speak your mind. But I think that that's exactly it. Is that it's speaking your mind. And if that's what your mind sounds like, if all the negative thoughts are just running rampant and there's no like, I don't know how to say it. Yes, I do. I'm just dancing around it because I don't want to be like a bitch. It's okay to be a bitch. Call it out. I think that a lot of people just let negative thoughts run rampant in their head and they hide behind the idea that they don't have control over their thoughts, whereas it is fully my belief that you might not control every single thought that enters your brain. You can choose which ones you latch onto. If a very negative thought comes through your head, acknowledge it. See it for what it is. But if you're the type of person to just let something like that come in your head and fly out your mouth, and you are just somebody to bitch and rant and pop off and vent, and it is just that stream of negativity, to me, that tells me that you don't really do the thought laundry. Thought laundry being like separating, you know how you separate your laundry, like whites and darks? You do your thought laundry. You separate like the light thoughts and the dark thoughts, like the positive thoughts and the negative thoughts, and you just clean up a little bit, right? It tells me that you don't do your mind chores if you just let the negative shit all the time. Because it also filters your perspective. Because if you're just looking for the negativity, and I understand there are some situations that are different, and this doesn't apply to everything, obviously, but if it's just everything, then it's somebody I won't surround myself with, and it's an energy and vibe that I don't fuck with. So, to put a big bow on it, the people you surround yourself with either create the space and environment for you to continue to grow, for you to continue to be who you want to be and feel supported in that journey, or they're people who actively feel like they drain you, discourage you, or just give you another point of friction. I'm gesturing so much with my hands in coming up against who you want to be, who you're trying to be. And they either support that growth or they don't. Your environment and the people in it, your company you keep, they either support your journey or they don't. And becoming aware of that's really important. How do people really make you feel? How do people really make you feel? That's all I'm going to say. This has been fun. This was a little off topic, but that's okay. We said what we needed to say. Yep. Okay. Thank you for tuning in again. Like, subscribe, follow. This is available on all platforms for streaming. Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. I post little clips and shit on my Instagram. That is at Evolve with Elise. I will tag that in the comments or the description. But I hope you have a wonderful week and a day as beautiful as you are. It's been real. Bye.